Imagine waking up to find there aren't enough doctors to treat the sick, IT workers to keep systems running, or bus drivers to get you to work. This might seem unlikely, but it's fast becoming a reality. Europe's population is getting older and fewer babies are being born. It means more people are leaving the workforce than those that are joining it. And this is creating a challenge for Europe's economy. But here's something that might surprise you. Overcoming this challenge could lie outside of Europe's borders. Keep watching, because by the end of this video, you will understand why this could be the most important economic story of a whole generation. Today on Espresso Economics, we're going to talk about what could be one of the keys to Europe's economic future: migration. But let's start with something you'd probably hear a lot. On the one hand, you have people arguing against migration, claiming it puts a strain on resources and disrupts social cohesion. On the other hand, you have economists and policymakers saying migration is essential to support the economy. Here's what's actually happening. Europe is in the middle of a demographic shift that is going to reshape our economy. And migration of foreign workers, they're not just filling gaps, they're fueling economic growth. Let's talk numbers, because I think they might surprise you. This blog from the European Central Bank shows that in 2022, migrant workers from outside the euro area made up only 9% of the euro area workforce. Just 9%. But what is surprising is that they accounted for half of all job growth over the past 3 years. And here's the thing, it's not just about job growth, it's also about economic growth. You see, when someone moves to Europe for a job, they don't just work, they also earn, pay taxes, and crucially, spend. They contribute on both sides as producers and consumers, both of which an economy needs to grow, so that the country as a whole becomes richer. In economics, this is called the multiplier effect. We asked Marco Weisler, an economist who co-authored the ECB blog, to tell us more about how the multiplier effect works.
So the multiplier effect means that if you have an additional worker in your labor force, he or she is not only additional worker, but also a consumer, meaning that he or she rents flats or buys groceries, just like you and me.
In other words, the multiplier effect of foreign workers gives the economy a demand boost, similar to a mini stimulus. And this has contributed strongly to economic growth in Europe. Here Marco explains just how big that contribution has been.
For the euro area overall, we estimate that foreign workers contributed 4 percentage points to economic growth, while for some countries like Spain and Germany, foreign workers contributed even up to 6% of economic growth.
So, foreign workers have boosted Europe's economy. But there's also another side to this story. It's about skills. Have you ever waited weeks for a doctor's appointment or watched construction projects drag on forever? There's a good chance that that's due to a lack of skilled workers. So, not only do foreign workers add to economic growth, they also help fill critical gaps in healthcare, engineering, technology, construction, industries that are essential for keeping Europe competitive. But what happens when there simply aren't enough people to keep things running? Well, this is where the story gets really interesting, because Europe's population is shrinking. The numbers don't lie. Right now, the average fertility rate across Europe is 1.38 babies per woman. But get this, we need a fertility rate of at least 2.1 just to keep the size of our population constant. As Europe's population ages and shrinks, the number of older retired people relative to young working people increases. For example, back in 2000, Europe had roughly 4 working people for every person aged over 65. But by 2050, that ratio is expected to fall to less than 2 working people for every person over 65. And this will create a challenge for Europe's economy and its pension and taxation systems. You see, state pension systems operate on a pay-as-you-go basis, where the taxes paid by today's workers fund the pensions paid to retired people. In a future where we have more pensions to pay, but fewer workers to pay them, this model will become harder to sustain. Older populations also need more medical care and long-term support. That will place an additional strain on public healthcare costs, just as the tax base shrinks. But here's where migration changes everything. Look at this graph showing Eurostat's projections of what the population of Europe could be in 2100. The blue line is the baseline population projection. The yellow line is the population projection without immigration. In this hypothetical no migration scenario, the population of the EU shrinks from 450 million in 2024 to 295 million by 2100. That would be like losing the entire population of present-day France and Germany combined. So, you can see, for our population and our economic model to remain stable, we are going to need a constant supply of younger foreign workers, not just to fill critical skills gaps, but also to pay the taxes needed to fund public healthcare costs and pension systems. Now, some of you might be thinking, what about all the concerns people have about migration? Maybe you've heard people say that migrants push up rents and property prices. And yes, it's true. When more people arrive in a city with already limited housing, rents and prices can rise in the short term. That pressure is real, especially where supply is tight. But the real issue isn't how many people are coming, but how few homes are being built. And for the reasons we talked about earlier, migrant workers boost the very capacity we need to build more homes. People may also have concerns in relation to the numbers of refugees and asylum seekers, but this is where it's important to see the bigger picture. Here's Marco Weisler again.
When people think about foreign workers, they usually think about recent migrants and refugees and asylum seekers, but that's a small part of overall migration. The largest part of migrants, are labor migrants, and they come to an economy with a job, since or they come as family members or following up to people that are labor migrants. Labor migration and family migration are the key reasons for migration, not so much asylum seekers and refugees.
Now, we also need to point out migration is not the only solution to Europe's shrinking population. As Marco explains, there are other ways we could tackle the problem.
One is just to work more. It's very as simple as that. We could either work more hours, which is currently also discussed in some countries, or work longer, meaning a later retirement. The second thing is you could increase the labor force. So what we've been seeing in the last few years is in particular women and elderly workers increasing their labor supply, meaning that they more and more enter the labor market and therefore fill also these gaps that we see in the economy.
There is also a third option. We could have more children, although how to best achieve that is probably a story for another video. So, there you have it. To sustain Europe's current economic model, we need to sustain our working population. In the short term, that means attracting talented, ambitious young people, both skilled and unskilled, who want to work hard and contribute. So, what do you think? Do you see the benefits of migrant workers in your city, your industry, your daily life? Do you think we should work longer hours or retire later? And do you think more needs to be done to encourage bigger families? Let us know in the comments section. See you next time for more Espresso Economics.